There are moments in history when the atmosphere changes so suddenly that people can feel it before they understand it, and today is one of those moments. Something enormous is shifting above you right now, something charged with the kind of electric intensity that does not politely knock before entering your life. It crashes through the door. It interrupts routines. It exposes truths that were never meant to stay hidden forever. What makes this even more unsettling is that most people around you are moving through this day completely unaware that the energetic architecture of the sky has already transformed. They think this is just another ordinary point in the calendar, another Gemini season arriving as it always does. But this entrance is different. The Sun moves into Gemini today, May 20th, and instead of stepping into calm intellectual air, it is stepping directly into a field already saturated with uranian voltage, unstable, unpredictable, and waiting for ignition. Uranus, the planet associated with awakenings that arrive without warning, revelations that alter your perspective forever, and life changes that strike like lightning across a dark sky, only recently entered Gemini in late April of 2026, after spending 7 long years in Taurus. During those years in Taurus, humanity experienced deep instability around security, finances, personal values, and the structures people once believed could never collapse. Many people lost certainty. Many discovered that what looked permanent was actually fragile. But now the frequency has shifted entirely because Gemini governs the mind, language, information exchange, thought patterns, communication systems, and even the nervous system itself. It rules the pathways through which humans connect to one another and to reality. When Uranus enters this territory, it does not leave communication untouched. It rewires it from the inside out. The collective mind begins accelerating faster than the emotional body can comfortably process. And beneath the surface, this pressure has already been building for weeks. Today, the Sun becomes the activating force that brings this hidden tension into full consciousness. Think about what happens when a dark room is suddenly flooded with light after years of silence. Everything concealed immediately becomes impossible to ignore. Conversations that were avoided can no longer remain buried. Realizations arrive without permission. Messages move with terrifying speed. What once felt delayed suddenly begins racing toward you all at once. This is why some of you already feel restless without understanding why. This is why your intuition feels louder than logic. The truth is that the portal opening now is not symbolic only. It is psychological, emotional, energetic, and deeply personal. 3 days ago, on May 17th, Mercury entered Gemini, its home sign, and almost immediately encountered Uranus. That moment was the first energetic rupture, the first signal that the airwaves were changing. Some people noticed it instantly through unexpected conversations, strange synchronicities, sudden downloads of insight, or messages arriving from sources they never anticipated. Others experienced it internally, a strange knowing that appeared out of nowhere, as if the mind suddenly connected dots it could not previously see. But today the intensity rises because the Sun itself has now entered Gemini. And when the Sun joins Uranus in this sign, awareness becomes impossible to suppress. Consciousness itself becomes electrified. Your identity, your perception, your understanding of reality all begin interacting directly with Uranian disruption. This is not passive astrology. This is activation. This is the moment the dormant frequency wakes up completely. And if your body has been reacting strangely lately, especially through your throat, there is a reason so specific and so fascinating that once you see it, you may never look at your recent experiences the same way again. Some of you have noticed tightness in your throat for no clear medical reason. Others feel pressure when trying to speak honestly. Some suddenly feel emotional while talking, while others cannot seem to stop thinking about conversations they need to have. There are even people experiencing the sensation that words are trapped somewhere between the heart and the mouth, unable to fully emerge. This is not random. In esoteric astrology and energetic systems tied to Gemini, this sign governs far more than casual communication. It rules the throat, the lungs, the vocal cords, the nervous system, and the energetic bridge between inner truth and outer expression. Spiritually, Gemini is closely connected to the Vishuddha chakra, often called the throat chakra, the energetic center responsible for transforming emotion and thought into spoken reality. Under ordinary conditions, this center functions quietly in the background, helping people navigate everyday interactions and routine communication. But Uranus does not operate gently. Uranus amplifies everything it touches. It destabilizes stagnation. It sends voltage into blocked spaces until those blocks crack apart. With Uranus now moving through Gemini, it is as though an overwhelming electrical current has been connected directly into this communication center. The nervous system is becoming overstimulated because suppressed truths are demanding release. The throat chakra is being pushed beyond its usual limits because what has remained unsaid for too long can no longer comfortably stay inside. And as the Sun entered Gemini today, moving closer toward its exact alignment with Uranus in just 2 more days, this energetic charge intensified dramatically. The pressure many people are feeling is the sensation of old silence beginning to break apart. Emotional suppression cannot survive under this level of frequency forever. Internal truths are rising toward the surface with extraordinary force. For some, this will become the breakthrough conversation that changes everything. For others, it will arrive as a realization so undeniable that their entire perception of their life path shifts in an instant. And what makes this moment so powerful is that deep down, many of you already know something irreversible has begun. What you are feeling in your body right now did not begin this week, and it certainly did not appear without purpose. For many people, this pressure has been building quietly for years through swallowed emotions, restrained opinions, conversations interrupted before honesty could fully emerge, and a lifetime of adapting language to make other people comfortable while abandoning personal truth in the process. Some of you became experts at silence long ago. You learned how to smile while suppressing disappointment. You mastered the art of saying the acceptable thing instead of the authentic thing. Over time, that habit settled into the nervous system itself, until your throat became less a channel for truth and more a storage room for everything you never allowed yourself to express. But something extraordinary is happening now, because the energy moving through Gemini is no longer tolerating suppression. The body is reacting, because the soul is trying to break a pattern that has existed for far too long. This is why so many people suddenly feel an unexplainable tightness in the throat that refuses to disappear. It is why certain conversations feel emotionally overwhelming before they even begin. It is why some people are noticing their voice cracking unexpectedly, their tone shifting without warning, or a growing inability to tolerate meaningless surface-level interaction. Small talk feels exhausting because your energy is no longer designed for performance. It is preparing for revelation. Deep down, many of you can feel that something wants to come through you, something honest, something life-changing, something that refuses to remain buried any longer. This is not random emotional instability. It is not merely stress. Under this uranian activation in Gemini, your throat chakra is undergoing an energetic clearing process so intense that old communication patterns cannot survive intact. The truths you once feared speaking are beginning to push against the walls you built around them. The internal pressure increases because the universe is preparing you to receive and transmit messages powerful enough to alter your direction permanently. And what makes the next few days so important is that this energetic opening is not vague spiritual symbolism. It is tied to exact astrological activations unfolding in real time between now and May 22nd. This is not simply favorable communication energy. It is concentrated cosmic voltage moving through the collective nervous system at extraordinary speed. Uranus entering Gemini in late April of 2026 established the larger framework, the long-term rewiring of how humanity thinks, processes information, and communicates across the next 7 years. But infrastructure alone does nothing until it becomes activated. That activation began on May 17th, when Mercury, ruler of Gemini and planet of communication, entered its home sign and immediately formed an exact conjunction with Uranus at 1 degree and 14 minutes Gemini. That moment initiated the first energetic transmission. It cracked open the intellectual gateway. It triggered sudden downloads, unexpected messages, rapid realizations, and mental breakthroughs that seemed to arrive from nowhere. Some people experienced it through synchronicities, others through shocking conversations, strange intuition or thoughts so clear and immediate they felt almost supernatural. But today, May 20th, the energy deepens because the Sun has now entered Gemini, illuminating everything Mercury already unlocked. What previously existed as intuition or internal knowing now begins moving into visible reality. The mind can no longer dismiss what the soul already sensed. And then comes May 22nd, the moment when the Sun forms its exact conjunction with Uranus at 1 degree and 30 minutes Gemini. This is the climax of the portal. This is the moment awareness itself collides with revolution. Identity meets disruption. Consciousness meets truth. The version of you that existed before this realization can no longer comfortably continue unchanged afterward. What makes this so historically significant, astrologically, is that these are the first personal planet activations of Uranus since it entered Gemini. This is the inaugural surge, the first ignition point, the opening transmission that establishes the energetic tone for the next 7 years. The revelations arriving now are not temporary emotional fluctuations. They are foundational shifts in how you will communicate, process reality, express identity, and interpret truth moving forward. And while everyone on Earth will feel some version of this energetic acceleration, there are specific zodiac signs standing directly inside the pressure field of this uranian storm. Astrology is geometry, and when planets activate early Gemini degrees between 1 and 2 degrees, they create exact mathematical relationships with the same early degrees of the mutable signs. These hard aspects, conjunctions, squares, oppositions, are not gentle influences. They are the catalysts that force movement, create friction, and produce undeniable events. They are the aspects that drag hidden truths into physical reality, whether you feel ready or not. Right now, 3 signs are positioned at the center of this energetic impact zone, and for those signs, the messages arriving during this portal may completely redirect the course of their lives. Gemini stands first because this energy is not merely touching them, it is moving through the core of who they are. If you are a Gemini sun, moon, or rising, this portal is activating your first house, the domain connected to identity, physical embodiment, appearance, self-expression, and the way you present yourself to the world. Since Uranus entered Gemini last month, many Geminis have likely felt an unsettling restlessness growing beneath the surface. The old identity no longer fits comfortably. Familiar versions of yourself feel strangely distant. Roles you once played naturally now feel performative, restrictive, almost suffocating. Even introducing yourself the way you always have may suddenly feel disconnected from who you are becoming. The structure of the old self is breaking apart because Uranus refuses to allow stagnation in the sign it occupies. Now, with both Mercury and the Sun activating Uranus in your sign, the message coming through becomes impossible to ignore. You are not the same person anymore. The miracle unfolding for Gemini is not simply about receiving external information. It is about becoming transformed by the information itself. Some Geminis may wake up during this portal with an overwhelming certainty about their purpose, a clarity so immediate and undeniable that it rearranges their entire sense of direction overnight. Others may experience the shift externally through opportunities arriving unexpectedly, conversations opening impossible doors, or messages from people connected to forgotten chapters of life suddenly returning at the exact right moment. A random encounter could redirect an entire future. A skill you dismissed may suddenly become the key to a completely new path. But the deeper miracle lies in what happens when Gemini finally stops censoring truth. During this portal, spoken authenticity carries unusual power. It is as though the universe amplifies every honest declaration. When you finally say what fear kept buried, reality itself begins reorganizing around your words. People who once misunderstood you suddenly hear you clearly. Possibilities that felt unreachable suddenly materialize. The voice you spent years minimizing becomes impossible for the world to ignore. And yet, this transformation carries a challenge so profound that many Geminis will feel both exhilarated and terrified at the exact same time. Because once truth is spoken at this level, there is no returning to the old version of yourself that survived through silence. What makes this portal so confronting for Gemini is that it does not allow half transformations. It does not negotiate with the old self. The energy moving through your chart right now is demanding total honesty, and that honesty comes with a cost, because every identity built around fear performance, people-pleasing, or self-minimization is beginning to collapse under the pressure of Uranus moving through your sign. For years, many Geminis learned how to adapt so skillfully to the expectations of others that they eventually lost touch with what they actually wanted for themselves. You became fluent in reading rooms, adjusting personalities, softening truths, shrinking visions, so other people would not feel intimidated or uncomfortable. But this portal is not rewarding survival strategies anymore. It is rewarding authenticity so raw that it completely changes the trajectory of your existence. The terrifying part is that authenticity always feels dangerous before it feels liberating. When you finally stop pretending to be uncertain about what your soul already knows, everything changes at once. The opportunities that begin appearing now are not aligning with the version of you that played small. They are aligning with the version willing to be seen completely. This is why the next days feel so emotionally intense for Gemini placements, because the universe is not gently asking for growth anymore. It is demanding transformation through truth. If you surrender to it fully, by the end of May, you may barely recognize the person you were before this transit began. The old identity dissolves quickly under Uranian pressure because once consciousness expands, returning to smaller versions of yourself becomes impossible. But Gemini is not the only sign standing at the center of this energetic storm. Virgo is next, and for Virgo Sun, Moon, or rising, the intensity of this communication portal moves directly into the highest and most visible point of the natal chart, the 10th house of career, public recognition, authority, legacy, and long-term direction. Virgo, your relationship with life has always been rooted in structure. You trust systems, preparation, discipline, and carefully calculated progress. You are not the sign that expects miracles to appear overnight because you understand the value of precision and effort. You build slowly, methodically, carefully. You analyze every possibility before making major decisions because certainty gives you emotional safety. But Uranus does not care about emotional safety, and this week it is preparing to disrupt your professional reality in ways that logic cannot comfortably explain. Since Mercury rules Virgo, this activation strikes even deeper because your ruling planet has already entered Gemini and formed its exact conjunction with Uranus. Now the sun follows, illuminating the highest sector of your chart with electrified intensity. The result is a professional breakthrough so sudden that it may feel almost unreal while it is happening. Some Virgos may receive unexpected recognition for work they quietly invested in for years without acknowledgement. Others may suddenly become the center of attention after solving a problem nobody else could figure out. A project hidden in the background could explode into visibility overnight. An authority figure may unexpectedly step aside, creating an opening that places Virgo directly into a leadership role they never imagined would arrive this quickly. But because Uranus operates through disruption as much as opportunity, for many Virgos, the real revelation will not be about elevation within the current path. It will be the realization that the current path itself no longer aligns with who they are becoming. And this awareness may arrive instantly, almost violently, like a lightning strike splitting apart years of carefully constructed plans in a single moment of undeniable clarity. One day, you believe you are committed to a specific future, and the next day, something inside you shifts so dramatically that continuing forward becomes emotionally impossible. That is the power of Uranus in the 10th house. It does not ask politely whether you are ready to reinvent your public identity. It forces the realization that your soul has already outgrown what your mind was trying to maintain. The miracle for Virgo is not merely the opportunity itself, it is the speed with which life begins reorganizing once you trust the message arriving through this portal. The challenge is that Virgo instinctively wants certainty before movement. You want proof before risk. You want the entire blueprint before taking the first step. But Uranian energy does not operate through guarantees. It operates through leaps of faith that only make sense in hindsight. Right now, the universe is not asking Virgo to perfect the future before entering it. It is asking Virgo to trust the shockwave of intuition arriving through the nervous system. If an opportunity appears suddenly, if a radical idea refuses to leave your mind, if your career path begins shifting faster than expected, pay attention, because this is not chaos without purpose. This is redirection. The breakthrough arrives the moment Virgo stops waiting for permission to evolve. The portal is not interested in perfect timing. It is interested in courageous movement. And if Virgo responds before fear has time to rebuild control, this week may become the defining turning point remembered for the rest of their life. Then comes Pisces, perhaps the sign experiencing this portal in the most emotionally profound way of all. For Pisces' sun, moon, or rising, the Gemini activations are moving through the 4th house, the deepest root of the chart connected to home, emotional foundations, family conditioning, ancestry, private identity, and the inner world most people never see. Pisces carries emotional weight differently than other signs. You absorb the atmosphere around you so deeply that over time it becomes difficult to separate your own feelings from the needs and expectations of everyone else. Many Pisces learned early in life that keeping peace felt safer than creating conflict. You became the emotional refuge, the listener, the healer, the one who sacrificed personal needs in order to stabilize the environment around you. But slowly, without realizing it, that role began eroding your own emotional truth. This portal is arriving to break that pattern apart completely. The revelations coming now are not superficial. They strike directly at the emotional foundation your life has been built upon. For years, many Pisces remained silent in situations that deeply hurt them because speaking honestly felt too disruptive. You tolerated emotional dynamics that slowly drained your spirit because preserving harmony seemed more important than honoring your own needs. But Uranus, moving through the 4th house, does not allow emotional suppression to continue indefinitely. The truth begins rising from the subconscious with unstoppable force. Some Pisces may suddenly confront family members about wounds or boundaries that have existed silently for years. Others may feel an overwhelming realization that the place they currently call home no longer reflects who they are becoming. A sudden relocation opportunity could emerge unexpectedly. Hidden family information may surface, changing the entire emotional narrative you once believed about your past. Some may experience a shocking internal awakening, where they realize they have spent years building emotional security around self-abandonment rather than self-respect. And once that realization arrives, there is no returning to unconscious survival patterns. What makes this miracle so powerful for Pisces is that the emotional truth they feared speaking turns out to be the exact thing that liberates them. The relationships truly aligned with their soul will survive honesty. The connections dependent upon silence and self-sacrifice will not. And although that realization initially feels terrifying, it ultimately returns Pisces to themselves. This portal is teaching Pisces that real emotional security was never created through suppression. It was created through authenticity, through honoring internal truth, even when it disrupts external comfort, through understanding that peace built on silence is not peace at all. It is emotional imprisonment disguised as harmony. And as this portal intensifies toward May 22nd, Pisces may finally realize that reclaiming their voice is not selfish. It is sacred. The miracle unfolding now is not only about what changes, it is about how quickly everything changes once truth is finally allowed to move freely. The biggest misconception people have about this communication portal is believing the miracle arrives as perfect control over outcomes, as though Uranus exists to hand you a carefully packaged version of everything you requested in exactly the form you imagined. But Uranus has never operated through comfort, predictability, or carefully managed expectations. Uranian energy is disruptive by nature, because its purpose is not to preserve your plans. Its purpose is to liberate you from limitations you did not even realize were shaping your reality. The true miracle unfolding during this portal is not necessarily the final result itself. It is the speed at which reality suddenly rearranges once the truth finally enters motion. Under normal circumstances, some conversations would take years to happen. Some emotional breakthroughs would unfold slowly through endless hesitation, analysis, and delay. Some opportunities would remain trapped behind fear for months or even decades. But this portal compresses time. It accelerates movement. What should have required endless struggle suddenly resolves in a single moment of honesty, one unexpected message, one shocking realization, one conversation powerful enough to redirect the entire trajectory of your life before your logical mind even understands what is happening. That is the nature of Uranus in Gemini. It does not slowly knock on the door. It strikes like lightning, sudden, impossible to predict, and impossible to reverse once it lands. This is why the messages arriving now often come through channels you never expected. The breakthrough does not always arrive through the person you were watching or the situation you were obsessing over. Sometimes it appears through a random interaction, an unexpected phone call, a stranger speaking words that awaken something inside you instantly. Sometimes it arrives through information discovered accidentally, a message almost ignored, an encounter that seems insignificant until suddenly everything changes afterward. Uranus thrives in unpredictability because unpredictability bypasses the ego. The logical mind cannot control what it never anticipated. That is why trying to manufacture a Uranian miracle rarely works. You cannot force this energy into a script. You cannot perfectly plan the awakening before it happens. The only thing you can truly do is remain open enough to recognize the moment when it arrives. And when it does, hesitation becomes dangerous, because this portal is temporary. The intensity building now does not remain permanently available. By May 23rd, the exact conjunctions begin separating. The energetic pressure decreases, and the communication portal slowly closes. The electrical charge currently flooding the collective nervous system begins fading back into the background. And for many people, the greatest regret will not be missing the message itself. It will be recognizing it and still refusing to act because fear convinced them to stay inside familiar limitations. That is why people deeply attuned to energetic timing move differently during periods like this. They understand that cosmic openings are not permanent. They know there are moments when the universe accelerates possibilities so intensely that waiting for perfect certainty becomes the very thing that blocks transformation. The people most changed by this portal will not necessarily be the smartest or most prepared. They will be the ones willing to move when the opening appears. They will be the ones brave enough to leap before every detail is explained. Because Uranian energy rewards courage, responsiveness, and authenticity far more than overanalysis. So the question becomes how to navigate this energy without becoming overwhelmed by it. The first and perhaps most important thing is learning to listen more carefully than you speak until the message reveals itself with undeniable clarity. Right now, the mental atmosphere is overloaded with stimulation. Gemini energy moves fast, and with Uranus electrifying the sign, thoughts may arrive at overwhelming speed. Not every idea is sacred. Not every impulse deserves immediate action. Some mental noise is simply static, created by overstimulation. The breakthrough message feels different because it lands not only in the mind, but in the entire body. It creates recognition at the nervous system level. There is a physical sensation of knowing attached to it, something undeniable that cuts through confusion instantly. Pay attention to the insight that changes the emotional atmosphere inside you the moment it arrives. That is the message worth following. Second, stop suppressing truths that have already exhausted you emotionally. If there is something you have needed to express for months, perhaps even years, this is the time to release it. Under ordinary circumstances, honesty may have felt terrifying or impossible to articulate. But this portal is amplifying authentic communication in extraordinary ways. The emotional blockages around speech are weakening. Words that once felt trapped may suddenly emerge effortlessly if you allow them. The danger now is not honesty. The danger is continuing to betray yourself through silence when the universe is clearly demanding authenticity. Third, remain alert to unexpected forms of communication because the miracle may arrive externally rather than internally. Uranus often delivers messages through unconventional pathways precisely because those routes bypass expectation. A text message from an unfamiliar number, an email nearly deleted without reading, a brief interaction with someone you almost ignored, even a random post appearing at the exact right moment can become the catalyst for massive change. Do not dismiss something simply because it arrives in an unusual form. During Uranian transits, the universe often hides life-altering information inside moments that initially appear ordinary. Fourth, protect your nervous system carefully because all of this Gemini activity creates intense mental acceleration. The collective mind is overstimulated right now. Endless scrolling, excessive caffeine, constant digital noise, and emotional overstimulation can interfere with your ability to discern genuine downloads from anxious mental chatter. Grounding practices matter deeply during this portal. Rest matters. Breathing deeply matters. Physical movement matters because the body must process the energetic voltage moving through it. The clearer your nervous system remains, the easier it becomes to recognize authentic guidance when it appears. And finally, trust the sudden pull toward action, even when your logical mind cannot fully justify it yet. If you suddenly feel compelled to contact someone, apply for an opportunity, make a move, speak a truth, or shift direction unexpectedly, pay attention to that instinct. Uranus does not move according to human timelines. It moves according to energetic readiness, and right now, events are unfolding faster than the rational mind can comfortably process. Many people will talk themselves out of breakthroughs during this portal because they are waiting for emotional certainty before acting. But certainty often arrives after movement, not before it. Today, May 20th, marks the official beginning of Gemini season as the sun crosses into the sign of communication, ideas, connection, and truth. But this is not merely a season of curiosity or social energy. This is a season where the voice becomes transformational power. It is a season where language itself carries extraordinary force, where the truths hidden inside people for years begin demanding expression, and where reality begins reshaping itself around what is finally spoken honestly. The communication portal is now open. The energetic downloads have already begun. The messages meant to alter lives are already moving through the collective field toward those prepared to receive them. Whether you are Gemini, Virgo, Pisces, or any other sign, this week is revealing something profound about the power of your own voice. Many people spend their lives believing words are small things, temporary things, harmless things. But under this uranian activation in Gemini, words become catalysts capable of changing futures. Because once truth is spoken clearly enough, reality itself begins reorganizing in response. And perhaps that is the real lesson of this entire portal. When the cosmos amplifies your voice, the question is no longer whether you are powerful. The question becomes whether you are finally ready to speak the truth, capable of changing everything. If you stayed with me through this message, thank you for sharing your energy and attention here today. And if this resonated with you, if something inside you already feels the shift unfolding, consider subscribing and staying connected for future insights as these transits continue evolving. I would also love to hear what breakthroughs, realizations, conversations, or miracle messages arrive for you during this week, because something extraordinary is moving through the collective right now. And many of you are only beginning to understand how deeply your lives are about to change. Until next time, take care of your energy, trust what your intuition is revealing, and stay open to the unexpected truth trying to reach you.